Right now on Good Morning America First Look, Iran naming its new supreme leader, the son of the late Ayatollah. Will his appointment lengthen the war? President Trump responding overnight.
Plus, the new attacks inside Iran and the new evacuation of Americans in the region as Iran fires more missiles and drones at its neighbors. Another U.S. service member killed.
Stocks plunging overnight. The Dow dropping more than 1,000 points. Oil prices soaring. Just how high gas prices are rising. And the Trump administration's message to drivers at the pump.
Also this morning, the terror investigation underway after an explosive is thrown outside the home of New York City's mayor. What we're learning about the two suspects.
Multiple shots fired at the Los Angeles home of singer Rihanna while she was home.
Demanding answers after the deadly tornado in Michigan, the calls to investigate whether there was insufficient warning.
Plus, 3-hour lines at the airport. What's behind the spring break frustration?
The escalating controversy involving actor Timothy Chalamet.
And later, what the Italian team was brewing inside their dugout at the World Baseball Classic.
From ABC News, this is Good Morning America First Look.
Good Monday morning, everyone. I'm Sophie Flay.
And I'm Hannah Batal. We begin with a committee of senior clerics in Iran naming a new supreme leader.
He is the son of the late Ayatollah, and he is widely expected to follow the same policies as his father. This comes as Tehran faces an onslaught of new attacks targeting its energy facilities. Iran responding, firing new attacks from Bahrain to the UAE and Saudi Arabia.
A seventh American has now died in this conflict. ABC's Marcus Moore continues our coverage. He is in Doha, Qatar. Marcus, good morning.
Hey, Sophie and Hannah, good morning to you. Here in Qatar, officials say they intercepted yet another attack from Iran. And the situation in neighboring Saudi Arabia is so bad that the U.S. government is now ordering non-emergency government personnel to evacuate. But the big headline from the region this morning is from inside Iran itself, where a new leader is taking control.
This morning, 9 days after the killing of Iran's Ayatollah Khamenei, his son has been named Iran's new supreme leader. Mojtaba Khamenei is expected to maintain the hardline regime his father created. President Trump has called the 56-year-old, quote, an unacceptable choice to lead Iran, overnight saying simply, we'll see what happens.
They have elected him, and that does send a message that they don't intend to bow to the United States pressure to change the regime or to become more conciliatory to the United States.
Hours before the Ayatollah's successor was announced, President Trump insisted he needed to approve the next Iranian leader, or, quote, he's not going to last long. Trump is now considering sending U.S. special forces into Iran to seize the country's nuclear stockpile.
We wouldn't do it now. Maybe we'd do it later.
U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities last June buried Iran's stockpile of uranium beneath rubble. The president saying the Iranians have not been able to reach it.
It could take a long period of time, which of course would be extended periods for this unit to be on the ground, which only adds to the safety and security risks of the overall operation.
U.S. Central Command now confirms a 7th American service member has died in this conflict after being wounded during an Iranian attack on a base in Saudi Arabia last week. Iran continues to pound its Persian Gulf neighbors. This government building in Kuwait City on fire after being hit by an Iranian drone. In Bahrain, dozens injured in attacks, and a desalination plant was hit after Iran accused the U.S. of striking a similar plant of its own. Desalination plants are essential for providing water to much of the Middle East. Meanwhile, Israel is targeting energy infrastructure inside Iran. This attack on an oil depot in Tehran sent poisonous fumes into the air for miles. Residents have been warned to protect themselves against toxic fumes and toxic rain. Many reportedly woke up with pain in their throats and eyes burning. And along the other front line in this war, in Lebanon, Israel's offensive against Hezbollah is widening. Lebanese authorities say more than 400 people have been killed, 83 of them children, 42 women. Hundreds of thousands have been displaced. Israel says it killed 5 senior members of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard at a Beirut hotel. It comes as Russia is reportedly providing Iran with intelligence to target U.S. forces, including the locations of troops, aircraft, and ships.
A military cooperation between Iran and Russia is not something new. It's not a secret. It has been in the past and is still there and will continue in the future.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth downplaying the threat.
No one's putting us in danger. we're putting the other guys in danger. That's our job. So we're not concerned about that.
Today, Ukrainian servicemen are headed to the Middle East to train Gulf countries on protecting themselves from Iranian drones. President Trump, in the meantime, has demanded Iran's unconditional surrender, leading many to question what surrender would look like. Secretary Hegseth saying this.
Now, whether they will have a ceremony in Tehran Square and surrender, that's up to them. Whether they know it or not, they will be combat ineffective. They will surrender.
And the situation across the Middle East remains tense. Overnight here in Doha, emergency alerts went out to cell phones again. And then soon after, we heard the now familiar sounds of loud booms over the city. Qatar saying it intercepted another missile attack from Iran. And this morning, Sophie and Hannah, they are renewing the call for an end to this war.
Marcus Moore, live in Doha. We appreciate the update. We know you'll stay on top of it. Thank you. New video appears to show a U.S. missile hitting a building next to a girls' school in Iran on the first day of the war. Experts say it was likely an American-made Tomahawk missile targeting buildings connected to Iran's Revolutionary Guard. It's unclear if this attack played any role in the strike on the neighboring school there. Officials say locally 168 people, including many children, were killed. The Pentagon is investigating and says the U.S. would never target civilians.
Now to the financial impact of the war in Iran. Oil prices soaring overnight and stocks plunging. Here's ABC's Allison Cossack.
This morning, the war in Iran is fueling another spike in energy prices.
From $40 to fill up my tank, I paid $72 to fill up my tank, and it's a 4-cylinder car.
Gas prices are up 47 cents per gallon in the last week to a national average of $3.45. Diesel prices climbing even faster, which could mean higher shipping rates. And more expensive jet fuel means airfares could be taking off.
Are you worried about gas prices right now?
No. This is a short excursion into something that should have been done for 47 years.
President Trump describing higher fuel prices as a sacrifice, calling short-term oil prices a very small price to pay for safety and peace. The administration had scrambled to take some of the pressure off, temporarily easing some sanctions on Russian oil last week. But overnight, oil prices topped $100 per barrel, the highest level in nearly 4 years, as the Iran conflict cripples exports. The Strait of Hormuz, off Iran's southern coast, is nearly shut down. 1/5 of the world's oil supply flows through here. President Trump's energy secretary insisting the disruptions will only be temporary as the U.S. military takes out more Iranian ships and firepower.
We're not too long away, I think, before you'll see more regular resumption of ship traffic through the Straits of Hormuz.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is calling on President Trump to tap into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but experts say a release would not have much impact on prices. Economists looking at the big picture say high energy costs, coupled with a weakening jobs market, could spell trouble ahead.
What workers are dealing with is an insecurity in their jobs at the same time that the effects of inflation over the course of 5 years have compounded. Now we've got in front of us a war, or certainly ongoing strikes in Iran, and that has boosted oil prices, which is creating another whole level of uncertainty out there for businesses.
And more trouble ahead on Wall Street today. Dow futures were down more than 1,000 points overnight, coming off the worst week the markets have seen in nearly a year. Hannah, Sophie?
Allison, thanks. We'll have more from the Middle East later in this newscast, and follow the ABC News app for headlines throughout the day.
2 teenagers are under arrest, accused of bringing a bomb to an anti-Muslim protest outside the residence of New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Police say the teens from Pennsylvania were part of a group of counter-protesters. One of them allegedly tossed the IED at the crowd. The device fizzled out, but the police commissioner says it could have killed someone. Bomb-making material was also found in a car nearby. Authorities believe the 18 and 19-year-old suspects had watched ISIS videos at home. They're expected to face federal charges.
Michigan's governor wants a federal investigation into why no tornado watch was issued before Friday's deadly twisters. 3 tornadoes hit southwest Michigan, killing 4 people. Governor Whitmer wants to know if the lack of tornado watch is linked to the Trump administration's cuts to the National Weather Service. It says a watch was not issued because the conditions were highly localized.
Time now for your Monday forecast.
Good Monday morning. Unfortunately, on the heels of major severe weather last week, we're looking for more rounds of severe storms this week. Today, focusing on Arkansas, northern Louisiana, Mississippi, western Alabama, the possibility of damaging wind, large hail, isolated tornadoes, flash flooding, including cities like Monroe, Louisiana, Jackson, Mississippi, all the way up to Greenville. A greater chance of severe storms coming up for tomorrow, focused on northeastern Missouri into parts of Illinois. Enhanced risk for strong tornadoes in that area, and a wider risk extending from Texas all the way up to the Ohio Valley. Meteorologist Jeff Smith, ABC News.
Coming up, shots fired at the home of singer Rihanna while she was home.
Also ahead, what we're learning about a student-teacher prank that turned deadly.
And later, a marathon controversy. Runners getting medals at mile 18. We're back with the deadly result of a student prank gone wrong. A high school math teacher north of Atlanta named Jason Hughes was killed over the weekend. Police say he was hit by a truck driven by a student who was fleeing Hughes' home after throwing toilet paper into the trees outside the teacher's house. When Hughes came outside, police say he tripped on a rock and fell into the road where he was run over. The driver is charged with vehicular homicide. 4 others face lesser charges, but Hughes' family wants all the charges dropped. They deny there was any confrontation.
That the family wants to make really clear is that they knew these kids, that they loved them, and these kids loved the Hugheses. This was not a malicious act.
He was a great guy, God-fearing man. He would do anything. He'd take the shirt off his back and give it to you.
Hughes leaves behind a wife and 2 sons.
Now to Southern California and the emergency outside a pop star's mansion.
Terrifying moments at the home of singer Rihanna. Authorities say the 38-year-old superstar was home in her Beverly Hills mansion when a woman drove up to the house and opened fire.
2 shootings occurred, approximately 10 shots heard. EPR believes the shots came from across the street.
Officers say a woman in a Tesla started shooting an AR-style weapon around 1:15 in the afternoon. Multiple bullet holes visible in the side of Rihanna's home. We're told none of the bullets penetrated.
Suspect number 1 is a female Hispanic, blonde hair, 30 years.
Police using a helicopter to quickly identify the car and followed the driver to a local mall.
Drivers out of the vehicle, units are approaching the vehicle.
Copy that. 1 suspect in custody.
Officers then taking the suspect into custody without incident. It's unclear if Rihanna's 3 young children or her partner, A$AP Rocky, were also home. A$AP Rocky was acquitted of 3 criminal charges last year after being accused of firing shots at his former friend, A$AP Rocky.
Authorities are now trying to determine a motive for yesterday's shooting.
Coming up, the escalating controversy involving actor Timothée Chalamet.
But first, 3-hour lines at the airport. What's behind the spring break frustration? We're back with the latest U.S. airstrike on a suspected drug trafficking boat. The Pentagon says it killed 6 suspected drug smugglers in the Eastern Pacific yesterday. Similar U.S. airstrikes since last September have killed at least 156 people.
We turn now to long waits at the airport. Spring break season is here, and there's an extra challenge this year. This morning, as spring break travel ramps up, chaos at multiple U.S. airports. Travelers facing hours-long delays during this partial government shutdown. Funding for the Homeland Security Department, which includes the TSA, expired last month, meaning TSA officers, for the second time in 6 months, are being forced to work without pay, prompting more agents to call out sick. That's causing delays of up to 3 hours in security lines, including here in Houston.
We got here at 10 a.m. My flight was departing at 1:50, and we're not going to make that here.
The guy said to me, "Heads up, it's a mess down there." And man, he was right.
In New Orleans, lines stretched through multiple floors and into the parking garage. The disruptions come as airlines brace for a 4% increase in spring break travelers compared to last year. That's nearly 3 million passengers expected each day. The partial government shutdown stems from a standoff in Congress. Democrats are demanding changes to immigration enforcement before they approve new Homeland Security funding. An organization representing airlines is urging Congress and the administration to negotiate a deal, saying America's transportation security workforce is too important to be used as political leverage. But now, a possible new logjam in Congress. President Trump says he won't sign any new bills into law until the Senate approves the SAVE Act. That's a bill that would require people show proof of citizenship and a photo ID in order to vote. Democrats claim it'll lead to voter suppression. Travelers also faced delays in Kansas City yesterday. The airport was evacuated because of a potential threat. Authorities later determined it was not credible.
Oscar nominee Timothée Chalamet is facing backlash after saying no one cares about ballet or opera anymore. The 30-year-old star made the comments during an interview with Matthew McConaughey. He quickly tried to clean up his remarks, saying, "All respect to the opera and ballet people." But one opera singer said she was shocked Chalamet could be so narrow-minded in his views about art.
Coming up, the marathon where runners got medals at mile 18.
Plus, the John F. Kennedy Jr. Lookalike Contest crowns a winner. Time to check the vault. We begin with a special perk for one team at the World Baseball Classic.
Team Italy, I like their style. They brought a real espresso machine into their dugout. Players enjoyed treating themselves to a shot of espresso between innings. The machine serves single shots, no milk or cream.
Next, another wild ending to a college basketball game.
This time it was Navy versus Boston University.
Be tough to do. He's not going to give it up now. Final ticks. Patriot League Player of the Year speeding in. Gets the lay-in. Men's lead. BU chance back. Latin. Go!
They make it look easy. BU winning to advance in the Patriot League tournament, which also gave us a buzzer beater last week when Lehigh hit their final shot to beat Holy Cross. Lehigh plays BU Wednesday. Next, organizers of the Los Angeles Marathon are being criticized for giving out medals to runners who didn't complete the race.
Because of the rising temperatures into the 80s, runners could get a medal for finishing 18 miles instead of the entire 26.2. Supporters called it a safer option,
but critics called it pathetic.
Next, the JFK Jr. Lookalike Contest here in New York.
The FX Hulu series Love Stories reigniting interest in Kennedy's marriage to Carolyn Bessette, and the handsome men were out in force yesterday trying to dress like him. The winner took home a cash prize and a t-shirt saying biggest hunk.
You know, very humble to be compared to such a legend. And I know I'm not as handsome as him, but that guy's a 10. You know, I know I'm not a 10.
The Love Story series is also stirring up interest in the clubs and restaurants that Kennedy liked. Next, a bittersweet last hurrah for a legend in Huntington Beach, California.
Sugar, the surfing dog, hit the waves for the final time. The 16-year-old is battling cancer. After winning 5 world championships, she's going to focus on her health. Top headlines next. Checking our top stories, Iran has named its new supreme leader. He is Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the late Ayatollah. President Trump previously called him unacceptable because he's expected to follow in his father's footsteps. Iran launched more attacks at its Persian Gulf neighbors overnight, and a 7th American service member has now died.
32,000 Americans have now returned to the U.S. from the Middle East. One Texas man stranded in Qatar for 9 days is finally expected to arrive home in Dallas tonight.
Gas prices are up 45 cents per gallon in the last week, and stocks overnight fell sharply.
The Trump administration is reportedly preparing an economic deal with Cuba. USA Today reports the deal could include a reduction in travel restrictions.
The U.S. Embassy in Oslo, Norway, was damaged by an explosion. No one was hurt. It's being investigated as a possible targeted attack. No suspects yet.
Today's weather, spring-like temperatures in the northeast and the Midwest. Record warmth in the southeast could fuel some strong storms.
And finally, a love story that began at Chili's.
Here's Danny New.
Where do you think would be the most romantic place to get engaged? Because for Robert and Sarah of Austin, Texas, the answer is the Chili's inside Chicago O'Hare International Airport.
How did you guys meet?
At a Chili's in the Chicago O'Hare Airport.
This proposal took place about a week and a half ago after the couple landed in the Windy City. Robert had coordinated with the airport and restaurant to have a red carpet, roses, and a cellist waiting for their arrival.
Was the cellist playing Chili's, baby?
I wish.
The reason for this location dates back to June 16th, 2023, when Robert was getting drinks here with coworkers during a layover and Sarah was charging her phone. Sarah struck up a conversation with Robert and eventually asked for his social media. However, Robert says he's not so great at knowing when a girl is asking him out, so...
I gave her my LinkedIn and then get on the plane, and I land and I have a message from her in my LinkedIn with her phone number.
Classy.
You gave your future wife your LinkedIn?
I did.
Despite the rather professional information swap, they hit it off and were soon making a point to dine at Chili's restaurants all across the country together. But one Chili's always stood above the rest, and when they arrived at O'Hare's 2 Fridays ago, a crowd had formed as a slideshow with pictures of them played on the restaurant's TVs. In fact, the chef had even left 2 of the chain's signature Presidente margaritas at the seats where they first exchanged LinkedIn info almost 3 years ago.
I figured I could use a beverage and I could charge my phone. I need to find an outlet, and I met the man of my dreams.
And guys, if you're wondering, yes, Chili's has reached out to them, and Sarah says Chili's has actually offered to pay for their honeymoon.
Wow, I love it. That's your Good Morning America First Look.
Have a great day.